All right. Well, first of all, before I get started, I'm going to thank a few people here. Rez, thank you, brother, for letting me inside your house and your vision and this beautiful business that you're running. It's amazing what you've done here. But more important than what you're doing here and what you're doing across the street is what we were talking about yesterday with what you're doing with the youth and with people that actually are less fortunate and people that are struggling and people that need help. And what Rez and I were talking about yesterday is that if I'm fortunate enough to become the sheriff of LA County, we're going to take his vision and his programs and incorporate it into the LA County Sheriff's Department. So we're not just here on Flower Street, so that we're on all streets across 1,535 square miles of LA County. So that's what I want to do with Rez. So we partnered up through Darius Love and the production company here, and we're gonna really do some really special things here in Los Angeles. So just to tell you where I'm coming from, my name is Matt Rodriguez, and I am a candidate to be the next sheriff of LA County. I was born and raised 20 miles east of here in West Covina. I grew up there, and I raised my family out in Orange County, and then I came back. I'm looking after my 95-year-old mother now, and with her in West Covina again. It's a perfect little headquarters for me to launch my campaign to be the next sheriff. I've been involved in law enforcement for 32 years in different capacities. Here in the LA County Sheriff's Department, I was a captain. I retired in 13, went down to San Diego, did some stuff with transit, came back, worked in a small city here in Commerce as public safety director and then the city manager. And then I ultimately went in charge of Metrolink, the commuter rail system all across 6 counties. Was most recently assistant chief and chief of police up in the city of Santa Paula. Right before the pandemic, I stepped down, resigned, came home, and then got this notion that we wanted to run for sheriff because we just don't like what we're seeing in the office today. And I'm at the point now where I seriously could retire, but I have an obligation, a moral obligation to give back to this community because I'm going to say some stuff here that you're not used to hearing from cops, okay? First of all, you're not used to seeing cops in a cannabis company. That's the first thing, right? But I do support legalized cannabis and happy to talk to you guys when we get into the questions as to why. But more importantly, I am the only cop, career cop, who's going to tell you that I was a part of a generation of law enforcement officers that, you know, I'm not saying we set out to do it. It was just part of the culture and it was a part of the way we were trained. But we furthered policies and practices that were damaging and hurtful to people of color. And I'm the only cop that you're ever going to hear say that, okay? Because I'm real and I'm honest. And I want to rectify that now, not for my own conscience, but for the future people of these communities and for future law enforcement officers as well. We got a lot of work to bridge that gap. You know, I was there. I was in South LA in 1992 when the Rodney King riot started. I was right there on Avalon. I was there. I saw it. I know firsthand what happens, the trauma that can happen to a community at the hands of violence from police officers. I've seen it firsthand. Fast forward nearly 30 years, 28 years, see the tragic death of George Floyd, a man that should not have died and surely should not have died in that manner, while other cops sat and watched the man suffer. I watched that. I was in the middle of the pandemic, just like everybody else, just dumbfounded and absolutely appalled at what I saw. Even in my day, when things were a bit rougher, there's no way we would have stood by and let that happen. So I'm thinking to myself, what is lacking here? What is missing? Why did my profession that I dedicated my entire adult life to, that my dad did 32 years in, my brother did 34 years in, why have we gone backwards over a 30-year period? Everybody else advances with technology and all kinds of stuff, but law enforcement has gone backwards. Why have we done that? Why? So I'm going to get into D-Love's question real quick, and then we'll get started. Because there's no respect. We were lacking respect. Those police officers did not show an ounce of respect to George Floyd and many other tragedies we know across the United States over the last few years. And then I think there was a lack of respect also coming back to the police in a lot of ways, which puts them on the defensive. So I went to bed one night with that notion in my mind, and I woke up about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning in the middle of a dream, and I thought to myself, respect. I sat up in the bed, got my iPhone out, opened up the notes and said, I'll tell you what respect is. We're going to be responsible. We're going to be ethical. We're going to be sensible. We're going to be professional, empathetic, civil, and transparent. With everybody we meet, respect. So when I woke up that morning, I knew that I was running for sheriff right then. And I also knew that that was going to be the cornerstone to my campaign. So when you see my logo, it's a big star with the word respect and all those words around it. And that's what we're going to carry out. And that notion is going to come from the sheriff with every dealing I have with people, which we don't see currently in the sheriff's office, all the way down to the newest member of the sheriff's department and the professional staff and the new deputies. They will treat everybody with respect in every contact that we have. And if they don't, they will deal with me, because on my first day at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:01 in the morning on Monday, I'm going to implement the policy of respect. And then I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to challenge every law enforcement agency across the United States to implement the policy of respect. And if they don't want to do it, then we know where they're coming from, right?